Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be ranking every single brawler in Brawl Stars, all 48 of them, from worst to best. Of course, before we get into it, do make sure you're subscribed if you're not already, so you can help us hit 200k. And please make sure you're using a credit code in the shop. If you do want to support me, you can use code TOM. Would be very much appreciated. Of course, before we get into it, make sure you're liking the video. Let me know what you think the best brawler is down below before we get into it. Let's jump right into it. Okay, at number 48, starting off the list, the worst brawler in the game, for me, it has to be Squeak. Squeak, I wouldn't want anyone to play Squeak. Squeak is so bad right now. The shots are so easy to hit, and I feel like when you do hit them, most of the time they take so long to kind of blow up and deal the damage that most of the time you're already dead anyway. So Squeak is just awful right now, especially because the meta is really tank based. Squeak is awful against any kind of aggression, so Squeak right now is just awful. Okay, at number 47, we have Leon. For me, Leon really struggles in 3v3. I felt like you can play Leon on Shooting Star, but that's about the only 3v3 map where I would say he's like maybe top 10 brawlers, honestly. Leon is just not that good right now, only really okay in Showdown, and especially in Showdown now you see so much teaming that like Leon's not even good in Showdown anymore. Like maybe below 500, 600 trophies, but as soon as you get above 700 trophies, you get teaming, people group together, the same they do in 3v3, Leon becomes awful, so Leon just needs some buffs right now. Okay, at number 46, we have Dynamite. Now, Dynamite is actually, like, Dynamite can be so good, right? If you can hit every shot, if you can be consistently good with Dynamite on maps like some semi-required, Dynamite can be absolutely amazing, especially on heist maps as well. Definitely do not think Dynamite is too bad. I just felt like you can get countered extremely easily by like BB, Primo, anything aggressive like Poker Double Tank. You're going to really struggle. Also, it's only a few maps where you can play Dynamite. Apart from that, it's really tough. If you know how to dodge Dynamite as well, most of the time you can dodge Dynamite. So yeah, Dynamite is okay. If you can hit your shots, Dynamite's a pretty solid brawler. But apart from that, it's very high skill cap and very weak against tanks. Okay, then at number 45, we have Edgar. Now, Edgar is one of those brawlers. Like, if you leave an Edgar on a safe in Heist, Edgar can melt the safe, like really, really high damage. The new gadget as well, I don't know. I feel like the other gadget was so good. You can get your super right, the most important thing about Edgar. But I do feel like the other gadget maybe gives him some use in some other modes. But I don't feel like it's made him so much better. It's definitely made him a little bit better. Obviously, you counter throwers. Apart from that, you're okay against like long-range brawlers like Piper. Obviously, you're going to be weak against tanks. And there's a lot of tanks around right now. So I feel like Edgar is okay, but just doesn't really shine anywhere. Okay, at number 44, we have Bo. Now, the reason Bo is a lot higher than maybe other brawlers is because Bo has one map, Snake Prairie, where he is still pretty much the best brawler, and like, yeah, so at least Bo has one map where he's good, right? And I mean, like it's not too bad. You can play him on Double Swoosh with like a Tara, you can play him on Bounty if you want to play for Cheese or Knockout, you're going to use that Nanny Super, or just to get Super. But apart from that, Bo is pretty weak against tanks, but honestly, you know, if you combine Bo with the right brawlers, he can definitely be pretty solid. But right now, as I said, like he's only really good in Snake Prairie. You can play him on some other maps like Backyard, Double Swoosh, but he's not going to be too good on them. He's just going to be like maybe B tier. Apart from that, he is pretty bad. Okay, at number 43 then, we have Mr. P. So the thing with Mr. P is if you face any tanks, you have literally like 0 damage. You're going to get completely bullied. But then if you do play some of those tank counters like the Bees, like the Colette, you can start to like do okay. But I just feel like tanks are way too good right now. You can just walk through Mr. P. And on open maps, it's way too easy to dodge Mr. P. Like, it's so hard to hit your shots with Mr. P, so he's only really good on like the medium range maps, and those seem to be maps where you seem to see a lot of Poker Double Tank. And yeah, Mr. P just very difficult to hit your shots on long range maps, and just isn't really good into those short range maps either, because you see so many tanks and throwers on them. But yeah, that's why Mr. P is not too good right now. Okay, at number 42, we have Shelly. So people obviously, you know, tanks are very good right now. Primo is one of the best brawlers in the game. And you're going to tell me Shelly is not at least decent, okay? Shelly gets memed a lot, but like, you can seriously say, I would much rather take a Shelly into games than like Mr. P, than a Squeak. Like, if you have the choice between Squeak or Shelly, I would go Shelly every time right now. Not only because you're going to counter a lot of tanks, which are very good, but like, let's just say you have medium range like a medium range, you have good damage, you have a good super, a decent gadget, and an okay star power. So yeah, I feel like, you know, if I'm Shelly against Mr. P, I feel like I have a good matchup. Against the Squeak, I feel like I'm going to do well. And against any tank, I'm going to destroy them. So even just the chance that you're going to have like a really great matchup is worth it for playing Shelly, especially on Power League as well, because you know what they're going. A lot of the time, obviously, you know what they're going, so you could just go a straight Shelly counter pick, and you're gonna have fun with that. So yeah, right now, I don't think Shelly is bottom 5 just because tanks are so good. Like, you have really good HP, really good damage, and decent range with Shelly, so that's why Shelly is maybe higher than you'd expect. Okay, at number 41, we have Gale. Gale, I don't know, like, Gale's been in the game for, I'm pretty sure, like, over a year now. And I just don't know what the point of it is. And it's like, when he was good, you could use him for that launch pad. And I feel like bring back his launch pad. Make the launch pads good again. Come on. Because right now, he's meant to, like, his object as a brawler is he's better counter tanks, but there is like so many better tank counters. So Gale right now, like, he doesn't counter tanks. He's not good against any other brawlers, really. Like, you could say maybe he's good against Pam, maybe he's okay against 8-bit, obviously okay against tanks, but like, there's just better brawlers to counter with. Gale doesn't really have a purpose right now, in my opinion. Apart from on split, where you can actually get value from that launch pad. Honestly, the only way they can buff him, I feel, to actually make a good difference is to bring that launch bag at least back to some of the range that it used to be. And I think this can help. But right now, you only see a little bit of Gale on split. And apart from that, Gale is just trash. Okay, so at number 40, we have Nita. Now, Nita, obviously one of the best, or used to be a really good tank counter. And now I feel like if you want a lane that counters tanks, you're going to go for Tara, you're going to go for Ems, you're going to go for like, I don't know, a Spike. I just feel like, you know, there's probably 5 or more brawlers that if you're gonna pick a lane that are probably better than Nita. So that's why we don't see too much Nita right now. Even though Nita's a solid option, I just feel like there's better options. And yeah, Nita, in my opinion, not too good right now. Okay, at number 39, we have 8-bit, a little bit underrated in my opinion. 8-bit is solid, especially on maps like Backyard, Minecart, and Hard Rock Mine. Those kind of mid to long range maps. I definitely feel like you can still do okay with 8-bit. So in my opinion, right now, 8-bit is not too bad. Okay, so at number 38, we have Brock. Now for me, Brock is not, like, you have 2 game modes, right? You have Bounty, where I'd say Brock is A tier, and then Heist, where Brock is probably A tier again. So 2 solid game modes, but not like anywhere insane. I still feel like Brock cannot deal with aggressive brawlers. So if you're facing like a polka dot tank, you're really going to struggle in Bounty or Heist. And then if you're facing like throwers as well, you're also going to struggle with Brock. Although you can open the map, but still you have low HP. You get 3-shot by a Sprout. And yeah, Thrower is going to counter you. So I still feel like Brock is good right now, but I still feel like it's the same problems where it's like it's hard to hit your shots compared to something like a Jean. And right now, I still feel like there's better options, especially with a lot of throwers being good and a lot of tanks being good. Brock can't really deal with either of them. Okay, so at number 37, then we have Nani. So you're only really going to see Nani on like Kaboom Canyon, Safe Zone, I feel like, and then obviously some bounty maps like Shooting Star. So those are kind of 3 maps we're going to see a lot of Nani. Definitely ST on Shooting Star, probably the best brawler on that map, and then solid on those heist maps as I mentioned. But apart from that, you're not going to see too much Nani. Piper is just going to be better most of the time, like pretty much all the time in Gem Grab, Brawl Ball, and sometimes on Heist as well, just because it's easy to hit your shots, and that means that you know, like, keep control easier. And yeah, I feel like Nani as well just doesn't deal with tanks too well, so you're definitely going to struggle against pressure. So that's why Nani is this low down. Okay, at number 36, the gameplay here is going to be in Basketball. We did not take Basketball into consideration because it was only a temporary mode. But yeah, Mortis was definitely pretty good in Basketball. Anyway, Mortis is kind of quite low down, I'd say, because in this tank meta, obviously, he's really going to struggle against like Primos, like Bulls, and the fact that there's a lot of tank counters like Tara, like Ems, like B, like Colette, that, like, I don't know, Mortis is really going to struggle against him, to be honest. So yeah, he doesn't have too many good matchups. Obviously, he's still good against throwers right now, but I'd say Tick is one of the best throwers. And, you know, Tick, you have those gadgets, you also have the super as well to kind of counter Mortis. Mortis right now is only good when you kind of know you're playing a Sprout, I would say, and that's when I would pick Mortis in Power League, when you know you're against a Sprout and maybe like a Piper or something, 2 Brawlers you can really counter. Apart from that, you're not going to see too much Mortis because Mortis just isn't very good right now. Okay, at number 35, we have Daryl. Obviously, tanks are very good right now. I feel like Daryl's standout modes are going to be Heist and Brawl. But even there, you don't see too much Daryl. I just feel like he's still a solid tank. There are tanks better. But if you're going like Primo, Poco, Daryl, that comp's still going to be very good. And Daryl's going to be able to do very, very well in it. So even though you don't see too much Daryl, I definitely feel like you would see more. There's just better tanks to use. So Daryl is definitely not bad. There's just better options if you're going to go a tank. But obviously, if those tanks are banned, that's when you're going to start seeing Daryl and these other tanks. So yeah, that's why Daryl is kind of in this mid-range zone. Okay, at number 34, we have Pam. I feel like Pam is one of those brawlers right now that's pretty underrated. Like against tanks, Pam doesn't counter tanks, right? But Pam has pretty high damage, so Pam's not going to be bad against tanks. Also going to be solid against most other brawlers as well. But Pam definitely struggles right now because there's a lot of Colette, there's a lot of Tara, a lot of Ems, which are all tank counters. Obviously, Pam is kind of a tank. She doesn't have the small range, but she does have the high HP, which means a lot of those brawlers that are made to kind of, or played a lot in this meta to counter those tanks are going to counter Pam. So Pam does struggle, but definitely still usable in like Poco Pam comps, and just a really solid brawler with high damage, good healing, and high HP. So Pam is pretty solid right now. Okay, at number 33, we have BB. Now, BB is really good in Siege, solid in Brawl, and pretty solid in Heist. I would say probably an S to A tier brawler in Siege, and then we probably have like a B to A tier in Heist, and then maybe like a B tier in Brawl. Not too good in Brawl. The thing with BB is very good, but when like Primo, if you ever played a Primo versus a BB, or you've been the BB in that matchup, you can't win it, right? Especially if Primo has that yeet gadget where he can yeet you over his shoulder. Like that matchup is impossible to win as the BB. So yeah, the main thing is that Primo is so good right now, and you just get hard countered by Primo. So I think that's why I've gone for BB being a bit lower than maybe you would expect. Is just because, you know, if Primo is banned, BB's going to be very solid. Probably BB would climb up the ranks if Primo wasn't here. But yeah, the fact that you see so much Primo and also tank counters means that BB is going to struggle, but still really solid in Siege, pretty good in Heist, and okay on Brawl as well. Okay, then at number 32, we have Spike. Obviously, Spike has been one of the OG tank counters with high damage, low HP, but now, I don't know, I feel like when we see so many throwers being good, that's when we see like less Spike being used, because instead of like going with a low HP Spike where you could be countered with throwers, people would rather go like a Tara, go with an Ems, something that just has more HP so that you're not going to get destroyed by a thrower. So I think that's what we see, is just people swapping to these other tank counters because they are slightly better against throwers, and also they're probably right now just better at countering tanks because, you know, Spike isn't too good right now. That gadget will definitely help out, but I don't feel like there's too much Spike right now just because throwers do hard counter him. And there are just better tank counters in the meta right now. Okay, so at number 31, you have one of my favorite brawlers, the most annoying brawler in the game, aka Tick. So yeah, Tick got a nerf with that gadget in the recent change, where essentially it doesn't tank all damage, it only tanks 50% of damage. That's obviously really hurt Tick now, because most of the time, I don't know, you could use it to tank like a Piper shot, to tank a 3k shot from B, or just tank like a lot more damage. And now, I don't know, I feel like you struggle to get much value from it. And obviously, there's a lot of tanks in the meta right now. So that's why Tick is kind of this low, even though it's probably one of the best brawlers to deal with like aggression, because you do have that Tick super, you also have the gadget as well. But as I said, it did get nerfed. But yeah, Tick's definitely solid in Bounty. Apart from that though, on like selected maps, you're gonna see Tick like on Split, like on Triple Dribble, a few like random modes just when Tick is good, where there's like really good choke points. But apart from that, you're only really gonna see Tick consistently on Bounty in maps like Shooting Star. But yeah, apart from that, I'd say Tick's pretty solid, honestly. Nothing too bad, just a lot of aggro in this meta, a lot of poker over tank, and Tick is obviously struggling to deal with the aggression. So yeah, that's why Tick is maybe lower than you'd expect. Okay, so getting into the top 30 brawlers right now. So starting off at number 30 with Piper. So Piper for me is just one of those brawlers that's like, Piper's always going to be good, right? You pretty much have, I think, the longest or like second longest range in the game. and it's just going to be so solid on those like open range maps like Safe Zone, like Kaboom Canyon, like Backyard, like Hard Rock Mine, anything with like long range as like a mid that you need in either like Brawl, Gem Grab, Heist, even in Siege on maps like Factory Rush and the other open map. Actually, it's called Bot Drop. That's the other map. But yeah, any open map is going to be really effective, and then against tanks as well. You're not going to be the best, but if you have Snappy, it's going to make you better. Obviously, you do have that super as well to get away from them, and you can swap to the other gadget, that knockback one, if you do want to get a little bit more protection against tanks. But apart from that, you know, Piper is really solid. Still does struggle against tanks though. Like if you face Polka Dot Tank as a pipe on Backyard, you're probably not going to win. So yeah, that's maybe why Piper's lower than you would expect. Okay, so at number 29 then, we have Jackie. Now Jackie is one of those brawlers where obviously you're going to want to play Polka Dot Tank with her, and she's going to be really good at that. High HP, high damage, but I definitely feel like some tanks are definitely better. Jackie's one of those ones where it's a little bit easier to counter, because you don't have any kind of like Bull, you have that super obviously, and Frank, you have more HP. Buzz, you have that super again to get close to people. With Jackie, that super is so useless that it doesn't really help you achieve anything. So that's why Jackie is on the lower end of this list, but Jackie definitely still very, very strong in Polka Dot Tank comps. Okay, so coming in at number 28, we have Colt. So I feel like this is the best I've seen Colt and the most I've seen Colt in terms of competitive in a long time. I think it's like 6 months since we had that broken gadget enter the game, and it got nerfed. And back then Colt was like top 3, and we haven't seen Colt as good like as he is now since like 6 months ago, as I was saying with that gadget. But yeah, I definitely feel like Colt is really solid right now, especially with there being so many tanks. There's a lot of like break comps with, say, like B and other brawlers like Surge and stuff like that, which can be pretty effective. We see Colt, especially in competitive, a lot. Probably A or S tier I'd rate Colt in terms of Siege. Probably A tier, very good on Factory Rush and like, I don't know, some assembly, nuts and bolts. When using like a breakup comp, we'd say like Ruffs and B can be very effective. Also on Split as well. And pretty solid on some Brawl and Gem Grab maps. So I definitely feel like Colt, one of those more solid brawlers right now. And I even forgot about Heist, where that's probably Colt's best mode. You know, we see a ton of Colt, not only on Kaboom, but maps like Safe Zone. And yeah, we just see a lot of Colt right now because that really high damage can definitely deal those tanks pretty well. So in like comps around Colt with like a B and a Ruffs or a Surge, something like that could definitely be really good right now. Okay, so at number 27, we have Amber. Now, to be honest, I had Amber even lower, maybe like 10 spaces lower. And I just thought to myself, like, Amber's not this bad, right? We haven't seen too much Amber in competitive. But Amber's definitely still one of the solid brawlers, can deal with a lot of lanes like the Sandys, like the M's, like the Taras, which a lot of people like to use right now to counter tanks. See, in regards to countering tanks, like Amber is very good, but the thing is when you run out of ammo, which is very quickly now because of the way they changed it, and it's a lot like harder to get your ammo back. And I feel like if you just had 2 tanks and a Poco healing them, you don't really have enough damage to kind of stop them. They're just going to run straight through you, so you can definitely struggle to take them down with Amber. But over time, as they kind of burn their gadgets, like the Poco gadgets and say like BB gadgets or something like that, it definitely becomes easier to kill them. Yeah, I feel like Amber just doesn't have enough damage, but it's definitely still solid against those kind of mid-range brawlers and good against the long-range brawlers as well. So Amber, definitely pretty solid. Maybe I've underranked Amber if anything. But yeah, I definitely feel like Amber is pretty okay right now. Okay, so at number 26, we have Barley. So Barley really does well in both Siege and Heist because unlike other throwers like Tick and Sprout, you have really good damage against the Safe and the Ike. So if you're using that damage star power, you're doing about, I think it's like 2.3k per one per shot. So yeah, it's really good damage, of course, if you have the damage star power. But yeah, really good in Heist and Siege. Also with that slow star power, you can kind of counter those more aggressive comps and does help you counter them a bit. But yeah, definitely like S tier on Siege. Probably, I don't know, A or S tier on Heist. And then solid on Brawl maps like Super Stadium, Triple Dribble. Gem Grab, you don't really tend to see too much Barley. You can see Barley on Hot Zone as well. But yeah, Barley definitely pretty solid right now. Put him above Tick because I feel like Tick is only really good on Bounty and a couple other maps. Whereas Barley is good in, like, really good in 2 modes and also good in other maps as well. And can deal with aggro probably better than Tick. With that slow gadget and also the damage. So yeah, that's why Barley is this high. Okay, at number 25 then, we have Sprout. So Sprout, like Sprout's really close to Barley. So my thinking is, yes, Sprout is awful against aggressive comps, but like this whole list cannot be made on how good they are against tanks, because Sprout would probably be last on that list. But why Sprout is this high? In Siege, you can use that Sprout wall and that gadget to essentially defend 100% on numerous maps, probably like every Siege map, I think, actually. So yeah, really solid on a lot of those Siege maps. Also pretty good on some heist maps. Obviously don't have that damage that Barley does. Really good on Bounty, much better than Barley on Bounty, probably A to S tier. Really good on, or okay on Shooting Star, obviously ticks a little bit better there, but really good on maps like Canal Grande and a couple other maps as well. Also really good in Gem Grab on Minecart Madness and a couple other maps as well. But yeah, Sprout, just really solid on a lot of different modes, and that's why Sprout is here. Like, yes, you do struggle against tanks, but you can't change the fact that you are still incredibly good on a lot of different maps and modes. And yeah, Sprout for me is probably the best thrower right now. Okay, so at number 24 we have Carl. Obviously Carl is pretty bad against like aggressive brawlers and Polka Dot tank, but generally pretty good against those tank counters. Also really good on Siege as well with that gadget, which allows you to pick up the first bolt, which is super important in Siege, especially in high level Siege. Getting that first bolt is super important. So yeah, that's why Carl is as high. And also, I feel like you can counter brawlers like Ems, Tara, pretty well. And Carl, honestly, pretty solid. Very good on maps like Canal Grande. Yeah, so solid on some Bounty. And I'd say just really solid on Gem Grab, Brawl, like Hot Zone. Pretty much every mode, Carl's going to be at least B tier. And then obviously has some maps where he's probably S tier as well. So Carl right now is pretty good. Okay, so at number 23, we have Penny. Now, I don't know, some people maybe call me crazy, but I definitely feel like Penny is super underrated right now. Once you get that turret, it's going to become a fourth player on your team, basically, and it's going to carry you. So I'd say Penny, like on medium to long range maps, is really solid right now, especially on Heist, on Siege, on Gem Grab as well. I don't like to play Penny too much on Brawl, just because if you concede, then like that's one goal. If you concede two, that's a game over. Whereas on Heist, you might take a little bit of damage at the start where you're working towards that super, but when you get it, it can be really good. So yeah, I feel like Penny, like probably A tier on Heist and just really good on Gem Grab and like pretty good on Hot Zone as well. Honestly, really solid brawler right now. Okay, so number 22, we have Byron. Byron is basically like a mini Poco. So really effective at healing your teammates. And yeah, if Poco's banned for some reason or you don't want to go Poco, you can go Byron. It's going to be a great option. Also really good when paired with Colette. I'd say Byron is probably going to be S2 A tier on high, especially maps like Kaboom, like Safe Zone, where you're going to play Colette with them. And it's going to be really effective. Really good in Hot Zone. Really good in Hot Zone. Probably A to S tier again. Just really solid at healing your teammates up. Obviously pretty solid on Bounty as well. Not too good on Siege. And yeah, pretty solid on Gem Grab and Brawl. Yeah, Byron, really solid healer. If you can't play Poco for some reason, go Byron with some tanks and it's gonna be really effective. Okay, so at number 21, we have Rosa. Now, Rosa is definitely really solid right now with Poco double tank being so good. It's one of those brawlers you can actually deal with Primo pretty well once you get your super. And both gadgets are very usable, very strong. So I definitely feel like Rosa is one of the best tanks right now, because of course you can deal with Primo, and I don't know, just really solid on grassy maps. I'd say A to S tier in Gem Grab on maps like Double Swoosh, Hard Rock Mine. Any maps with a little bit of grass, you're going to see quite a bit of Rosa. Are going to be pretty solid on Brawl as well, but honestly there's not too much grass, so you might not see as much. Good thing about Rosa is you can counter Tara with your super, and yeah, it's going to be pretty good. Apart from that, I don't know, you don't tend to see too much Rosa, again, just because Rosa is a tank, and tanks are very good right now. That's why Rosa is as high, but maybe I might have overrated Rosa a little bit. Okay, so getting into the top 20 brawlers right now. At number 20, we have Frank. Obviously, Frank is definitely one of the best tanks to go right now, because you just have so much HP. If you use that sponge, you're gonna have over 10k HP. So yeah, you just see so much Frank right now in Brawl. Like, you don't really, I don't know, you don't do much apart from just tanking shots and just walking, and it's going to be pretty effective. So yeah, Frank's ST and Brawl for me right now. Also really solid in, pretty solid in Siege when you break up the map, and also like good in Hot Zone, say on Split if you're using Brawlers to break up the map as well, or just healing in general. Frank's going to be a pretty good option. Again, you do get countered by Primo pretty hard, so that's why Frank is lower than some of the other tanks. But yeah, Frank definitely solid with that gadget as well, can evade Tara supers and gene pools, stuff like that. But yeah, Frank's definitely really good right now. Okay, so at number 19 we have Jesse. Now Jesse is super solid right now, especially if you're playing like a mid on Brawl, if you're playing Heist. Okay on Siege, but not too much on Siege. Maybe like Hot Zone, really good on Hot Zone. And obviously Heist. With that turret, if you have that gadget, you can get so much damage on the safe. Obviously a really great counter to tanks, and there's a lot of tanks right now. So yeah, Jesse is pretty good right now. Okay, so at number 18 we have Lou. I feel like I may have overrated Lou a little bit, but the reason Lou is here is that Lou is like S tier in Siege because you can basically get your super down and defend Siege robots really well. Also, Lou is pretty solid against tanks, but Lou is going to be very good, especially on Hot Zone, on maps like Ring of Fire, where that super is going to cover the entire Hot Zone, basically preventing your teammate or the enemies from going on the Hot Zone, and you can just cycle supers from there. So yeah, Lou is really great on both Siege and Hot Zone on pretty much every map, I would say. And then apart from that, you honestly don't really see too much Lou in the other modes. Like, you don't see Lou on Heist, you don't see Lou in Brawl. Maybe on some gem grab maps you'd see Lou. And yeah, apart from that, you don't see much Lou, but Lou is very solid on Hot Zone and Siege. Okay, so at number 17 we have Crow. Crow is one of those brawlers which is pretty solid right now. Can deal with tanks very well just because of that slow gadget, and like really solid on close to long range maps like Backyard Bow. Really good on gem grab Brawl. Solid on a lot of heist maps. Probably pretty good on Siege as well, on Factory Rush, Bot Drop, those long range maps. And yeah, Crow just very solid right now. On a lot of those long range maps. Also pretty good in Showdown as well. Okay, so coming in at number 16 then is going to be Sandy with that new gadget, which is going to be very effective at stunning enemies. And yeah, although Sandy doesn't do with tanks too well, I definitely feel like Sandy is one of the best brawlers right now. Pretty solid on Siege, really good on like gem grab, Brawl. Honestly, just solid everywhere. Good on Hot Zone as well. Maybe not Heist. I wouldn't play Sandy on Heist, but anywhere else, honestly, if the comp is good with Sandy, or if the comp's built around Sandy, it can be really good. Maybe Sandy's a little too high, but yeah, I definitely feel like Sandy is one of those solid brawlers right now you can just whip out, and it's going to be pretty good. Okay, so at number 15, we have Max. So Max is, in my opinion, super underrated right now. She's definitely got a bit of a nerf with that star power nerf, basically meaning it takes long to get your super. But still, I feel like Max is super underrated, especially it being a tank meta. Like, Max is great with tanks. I'm surprised we don't see more Max, honestly. I feel like maybe we'll see more Max when people think, like, realize that she's actually pretty solid. Like, high damage, obviously that speed is the best thing about her. Yeah, I definitely feel like Max is so good in gem grab and Brawl. Honestly, I think Max is solid in every mode. Maybe I'd say apart from in Heist and maybe not so much on Siege. But yeah, every other mode, Max is really solid. So wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot more Max pretty soon. Okay, so at number 14, we have Colette. Now, Colette, obviously one of the best tank counters. And yeah, so solid. Like ST and Heist, like Colette is probably the best. One of the best, if not the best Heist brawler. Really good in Brawl, especially because there's a ton of tanks on Brawl. And just good on any of those kind of open range or like long to mid open range maps like Backyard. Anyway, you're going to see a ton of tanks. Colette is going to be good there. Not too good on Siege, but honestly, like, could use Colette on Bot Drop, to be honest. Apart from that, though, I don't know, Colette is obviously good, but I just don't think outside of Heist and Brawl, you're not going to see too much Colette, so that's why Colette is maybe not as high as you would expect. Okay, at number 13, we have Buzz. Now, I changed my whole list because I underrated Buzz, so I moved Buzz up a lot. And this is the reason, because I think Buzz is a top 3 tank, because that's what Buzz is. Buzz is a tank, high damage, like close range attacks, and obviously high HP, or pretty high. But yeah, for me, Buzz is the 3rd best tank after Primo and Bull, just because, you know, that stun is so good. Once you start cycling it, it's going to be insane, honestly. And I feel like the reason you don't see too much Buzz right now is because people are just playing Buzz like a normal brawler, not like a tank. So you see people just going Buzz in random comps and not with a polka dot tank comp. But if you're going Buzz, make sure you're going polka dot tank with Buzz, because I believe Buzz is the 3rd best tank right now. So yeah, I feel like when people realize that you actually need to use Buzz with Poco and another tank, you're going to see a lot more Buzz, because Buzz can be super OP and definitely has the potential to be super broken. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a ton more Buzz when people realize how good this brawler is. Okay then, so at number 12 we have Bull, so the second best tank on the list, of course after Primo, because Primo is the best one. But yeah, obviously after the recent buffs, Bull has a really good super. So for me, Bull is like S tier in Heist, S or A tier in Siege, really good in Brawl Ball, probably say A tier. Also really good in Gem Grab as well, probably A tier as well. And yeah, just so solid, especially when paired with like a Poké Double tank. Bull is going to be so good. And yeah, definitely feel like Bull is the second best tank right now in my opinion, just because with that super and the Stomper gadget, you can still kill your counters very easily. Even if you just keep dying over and over again, of course you're getting your super, so eventually you're going to have to kill them. And yeah, that's the reason why Bull is this high. Okay, so getting into the top 10 best brawlers right now. At number 10, we have Ems. Ems is incredibly good at dealing with tanks. One of the best tank counters in the game. Really good gem grab in Brawl Ball, in Heist, in Siege. Really good in Hot Zone. So you have, you know, I'd say Ems is probably A tier in every single game mode apart from Bounty. And then I'd say probably S tier in probably Brawl Ball, and probably A tier in the rest of the modes. But yeah, M's such a great tank counter, especially as well if you got a Primo jumping on you, if you got a Bull charging it, you have that gadget. We have 3 of those gadgets to kind of knock them back and prevent them from killing you. So yeah, without a doubt, M's is one of the best tank counters right now. Okay, so at number 9, we have Ruffs. Ruffs is one of the most underrated brawlers in the game, and you're going to see a lot of Ruffs at top level competitive, because kind of pros really understand how good Ruffs is, just because you have those upgrades. There's nothing like them in the game. And also, you can use that healing as well with that star power, that second star power, which is incredibly good as well, especially in modes like Gem Grab, where you're going to build up over time, get more upgrades, get more HP. It's incredibly OP. And anyway, Ruffs is like so good in pretty much every single mode. I'd say A tier in every single mode, and that's just crazy good. Okay, then at number 8, we have Tara. As you guys know, one of my best brawlers. Yeah, Tara is incredibly good at countering tanks, so that's why Tara is this high. Also, those pets as well, gonna counter brawlers like Bee and Piper, and basically allow you to tank up to 3 of their shots, which is incredibly good. And yeah, Tara just really solid right now. Definitely S tier in Brawl Ball and Gem Grab, especially on those close range maps like Double Swoosh. You're going to see a ton of Tara. I definitely like Tara right now, especially if you can actually hit the pools, unlike me. But yeah, Tara is definitely one of the best brawlers for me right now. Okay, so at number 7, of course, we have Bee. Bee is one of the best tank counters in the game, especially if you're looking for a mid-range brawler that's going to deal with tanks very well. So either to play in mid, basically, instead of lane. Bee is incredibly good. High damage, also that's slow as well. It's going to be incredibly good. Pretty much every single mode you're going to be able to play Bee, whether it's Heist on like Kaboom, Safe Zone, whether it's Brawl Ball, Gem Grab, you know, Siege, probably not so much in Bounty, but definitely in Hot Zone as well. So yeah, that's like 5 modes you can play Bee very well, and Bee is very OP right now. Okay, so at number 6, we have Rico. In my opinion, Rico is so underrated right now. That new gadget helped him out even more. And yeah, Rico is insanely broken on Brawl Ball, like insanely good on Heist. Definitely S tier on Heist, probably S tier on Brawl Ball. On certain Siege maps is probably S tier as well. Like if you play Summon 70 Required, he's definitely the best brawler there. So yeah, definitely S tier on that map, and good on some other Siege maps as well. Of course, map dependent, like as long as it has a lot of walls and it's pretty short range, Rico is going to be very good. Of course, Rico deals with tanks well as well, so that's why Rico is very high on this list. High damage, deals with tanks very well, and the gadget that was just released is very OP as well. Okay, at number 5, we have Poco. Of course, we cannot have a tank meta without Poco being good, because if tanks are good, Poco is good. If Poco is good, tanks are good. That's just how it works. You don't see 3 tanks, you see Poco double tank. That's how you see it in pretty much every single game mode. So Poco is going to be at number 5, just because, as I said, you know, Primo, Bull, Buzz, you know, tanks are so good right now. So Poco is going to be at number 5 just because it's a Poco double tank meta, let's be honest. Okay, so at number 4, we have Jean. Of course, Jean is very solid, like real good in Siege, S tier in Siege, S tier in Gem Grab, probably A tier in Brawl Ball, obviously pretty bad in Heist, probably like B, C tier in Heist, but in Hot Zone, again, probably like A tier. So Jean is just so good overall. Although like Jean doesn't have the best reload speed and not insane damage, so you're only kind of okay against tanks. But yeah, apart from that, Jean is just so solid against pretty much every other brawler. Okay, so at number 3 we have Belle. Belle is so good at countering tanks. If they stand together, you're gonna be able to get that bounce shot off, and obviously you have that target as your super, which means you're gonna be able to deal a ton more damage. And yeah, Belle, really good damage. Great range, honestly, just a good mechanic in general, and Belle is definitely like S tier in Siege, S tier in, I would say probably Hot Zone, S tier also in Heist, and then probably like A tier in Brawl and Gem Grab. So yeah, pretty much just so good in every single mode. That's why Belle is this high. Okay, at number 2 on this list, then we have Stu. So I feel like, I don't know, I definitely feel like Stu, even after the nerf, like the knockback doesn't really, the change to the knockback didn't affect too many interactions, maybe like just with BB and Frank, but apart from that, Stu is incredibly broken still. It's just too easy to heal up, like you can just constantly cycle your super, and yeah, it just means that Stu is very solid right now. It can get countered a little bit. Also the gadget as well, super underrated. Yes, it's easy to destroy, but if you can't destroy it, then it just sits there the whole game, speeding up your team, and it's really good. So for me, Stu is just like definitely, I'd say probably A tier in every single mode at least. Probably like S tier in Hot Zone, S tier in probably Gem Grab, Brawl, and probably Siege as well. So yes, Stu is just incredibly good right now. So of course, at number 1, that leaves us with Primo. And Primo, obviously after the buff, getting your super while getting attacked, Primo is so good. Of course, you still have to kind of stick to the mid to long, or the mid to short range maps, and you don't want to play Primo on Backyard Bowl like I'm doing here. But yeah, most of the time you want to stick to short range maps. Primo is S tier in Siege, S tier in Heist, probably like A tier in Jab Grab, definitely S tier in Brawl just because of the way, I don't know, you can jump and it's so good. Probably A tier in Hot Zone, and even like B or A tier in Bounty on maps like Canal Grande. Like Primo with a Poco and another tank, you just can't beat it. Primo is definitely the best brawler in the game for me right now. Okay, well that's gonna wrap up the video. If you did disagree with anything, make sure to let me know down below. Of course, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're liking the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.